Self-compassion is the idea of being kind, caring, compassionate, and understanding towards ourselves, especially in times of challenge or struggle or change and growth. Self-compassion is like having a best friend who is loving and supportive and has your best interest at heart, as opposed to the opposite, which would be like self-judgment and criticism, your inner critic, someone who is scrutinizing and makes you feel like crap. Hey soul family, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Nicole, and today we're going to talk about the important role that self-compassion plays in our personal growth journey, as well as 5 practical exercises and some practical tips at the end that will help you to incorporate more of these practices into your daily life. We all face hard times and make mistakes and occasionally say the wrong thing and find ourselves in that thought shame spiral. The shame thought spiral, you know? And it's in these moments that our inner critic tends to take control, often chastising us and leaving us feeling angry, upset, disappointed, embarrassed, shameful. But what if there's a better way to respond to these situations that happen to all of us, that ends up leaving us feeling actually happy, confident, and lighter, and able to take on the day? To begin, I wanted to start off by describing the parameters of self-compassion for the context of this video. Self-compassion is the idea of being kind, caring, compassionate, and understanding towards ourselves, especially in times of challenge or struggle or change and growth. Self-compassion is like having a best friend who is loving and supportive and has your best interest at heart, in your corner and supporting you and motivating you, as opposed to the opposite, which would be self-judgment and criticism, your inner critic, someone who is scrutinizing and makes you feel like crap. Some of the byproducts of having self-compassion include overall self-acceptance, knowing and loving yourself, the light and the shadow parts of yourself, improved emotional regulation skills, reduced stress, better self-care practices overall, and more motivation and inspiration. But hey, I know what it's like to have people constantly telling you what you should do, but then not giving you any actual ways to start incorporating that. Sometimes I want to do what I'm being told that is good for me, but then I don't know how to do it. But don't worry, I got you covered with 5 exercises to start incorporating into your life to cultivate more self-compassion overall. So all of these exercises can be used as a mental exercise or a journaling exercise. And these are not my own ideas. These are kind of compiled from other sources and things that I've used in the past. So the first exercise is called How Would You Treat Your Friend? This is a really common one used in the psychology world. And in this process, we start by identifying a challenging situation in your life, or a mistake that you may have made in the past, or something that you feel insecure and vulnerable about, or when you had to have a tough conversation or faced a difficult situation. The next step in this is to observe your reaction and notice how you responded to your response in that moment. Were you harsh on yourself? Were you feeling embarrassed, or were you full of self-blame? Now, the next step would be to shift our perspective. And this is where the friend part comes in. So now let's imagine that we have one of our best friends here, and they're going through the exact same thing that you are going through, or that you went through. And think about what you would say to this friend who is going through that same thing. You would be more likely to comfort them and offer guidance and support and compassion and tell them it's okay. you can do it another time, or reassuring them that they didn't do anything wrong, or that it doesn't mean anything bad about them, or that everyone makes mistakes. Now the next step would be to apply these same practices, these same tools that you would have given to this friend, and now give it to yourself. Remind yourself that it's okay. We all make mistakes. There will be another time to try again. We're all human. It happens. Now I want you to reflect on the difference between what you originally started off saying to yourself versus what you had said to your friend that you're now saying to yourself. And just notice the difference in how you feel. The first one, when it's like we're shaming, blaming, and guilting ourselves, it feels really heavy and low and restricted. And then the second one, when it's like, oh, it's okay, we all make mistakes, it feels really expansive and loving and kind. And then moving forward, after practicing this exercise, you can use different affirmations or mantras or sayings to just bring you comfort and reassurance throughout the day whenever you might be thinking about this situation that causes you a great deal of stress. You could say things like, I'm doing my best and it's okay. I'm trying my best. It's okay to make mistakes. We're only human, right? This second exercise to cultivate more self-compassion in your life is called a self-compassion break, and it was created by Dr. Kristen Neff. So the first step you're going to do here is reflect on a difficult situation. Similar to what we did with the friend, we're going to reflect on the situation that is bringing up these lower vibrational emotions, these restricting emotions. The next step we're going to do here is we're going to acknowledge our feelings. You're going to recognize the things that are coming up for you and remind yourself that this is okay. This is tough. This hurts. I'm experiencing big emotions right now. The next step you're going to do is to recognize the shared humanity, the common humanity, knowing that we are all human. We all make mistakes. We all experience these feelings. And struggling and challenge, and these feelings are a universal human experience. Remind yourself that everyone feels pain sometimes. This too shall pass. This is not forever. You will make it through. You aren't the only one who's experienced this. And that doesn't take the pain away, but it allows for some sense of comfort knowing that there are other people who know what you've gone through, who can relate. And being able to relate is the core foundations of relationships. The next step you're going to do here is extend compassion and offer kindness to yourself. You can use affirmations such as, may I be strong, may I be guided, may I get through this, may I accept myself as I am right now. Another step in this, and it's kind of optional, is to incorporate some self-soothing techniques. So some of these could be placing your hand on your chest and your belly. You could give yourself a hug. You can rub your arms in comforting ways. Whatever helps you. The third self-compassion exercise is more of a journaling exercise, but again, it's something that you can do as a thought experiment as well. But I do think that it would probably be more powerful if you were to write it down. But that's just me and my own personal experience because I love writing. So for this one, you want to start with identifying a vulnerability that really affects you. Think of an insecurity you have or areas of your life where you feel like you're not being your best self, or where you tend to judge yourself harshly and you're not accepting what is. These insecurities can come from your life accomplishments, your physical appearance, a personality trait, a past behavior, a behavior in general, or an action. Really, the list goes on. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to write about your feeling. You're going to describe how this insecurity makes you feel vulnerable and the emotions that it brings up for you. While doing this, try not to control what you're writing and kind of just try to allow it to just free flow. Try not to even think about it. Just allow it to free flow. I find it especially powerful in this type of exercise to actually write down the feelings while you're in the trigger or while you're feeling the big emotions. And that way, later on, when we're doing this third step, which is reflecting on the emotions, we can kind of see them from a clearer perspective, and we can almost act like our own like therapist or counselor. Because when we're writing the emotions and the trigger, we're writing it out, we are in that emotion, and we're like, it's like a fish in water. It can't see that it's in water because it's literally in the water. But humans, we're looking, or even bears or animals looking into the water, we can see that the fish is in water, and we can catch that fish. So for this third step, you're going to challenge any of those thoughts, any of the negative thoughts that you wrote down. You're going to challenge these thoughts, and you're going to replace these negative thoughts with more positive ones. Sometimes if you don't actually believe the positive thoughts, you just think about the opposite of what you wrote down and write that out. For example, you can replace the thought of like, how could I do or say something so ridiculous and silly with, it's okay, we all make mistakes, it wasn't that big of a deal, I'm not perfect, and nobody is. After you finish both these exercises, you can take time to reflect again and again notice the difference in how each of these writings make you feel. The goal here, if you haven't noticed, is to feel uplifted and feel joyful. Notice the shift in your tone when you went from self-judgment to self-compassion. Is it restrictive or expansive? The next exercise I have here is a self-love, self-compassion meditation. If you're more interested in meditating, then this is for you. So first, you want to obviously find a quiet spot. If you don't have a quiet spot, I suggest using those like noise canceling headphones because they can be really helpful. Make sure you're sitting down or laying down and get really comfortable. And when you're really comfortable, relax your eyes. You can relax them or you can close them completely. And start off by taking a few deep and slow inhales and exhales. You can do the box breathing where you're doing 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds. You can interchange those numbers to make it however long you want each section to be. A really powerful part of a meditation is to set an intention for what you want that experience to go like. It could be to cultivate more self-compassion in your life, or just to experience more joy and connection in your life. After you've set your intention, you're going to start by giving yourself loving kindness and directing self-compassion towards yourself. You can repeat phrases or affirmations such as, I am happy, I am safe, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be free of pain and suffering. But I like to focus on what I want to create and not necessarily what I'm trying not to create, if that makes sense. So may I feel free and loving and loved and supported. Then you're going to move on to doing this towards others. Start choosing your loved ones that you want to generate more loving kindness to, and do the same thing for them. And then after that, you're going to expand it to the entire world. And you can even include people that you find it challenging to give love to. And then at the end of the meditation, it is always good to like finish with gratitude and what you are grateful for, and maybe even focusing on the reasons that you're grateful for them to begin with. And if you want a guided meditation to follow along with, instead of just trying to remember all these steps in your head, I'm going to post a video in the description, and it's a 10-minute guided meditation. I tried it. I thought it was really good. It was literally what this was. And then one sort of like philosophy or like mindset that I've been including in my meditation practices is kind of like to not need it to be so rigid and like, oh, I must sit and quiet my mind and not think of anything else, and I must sit still. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying if you're not in a space to do that, which I can relate to because I'm not always in that space, then sometimes I find it beneficial to include more movement and sometimes like breath work patterns. So even just like focusing on extending my exhale to be longer than my inhale, and then also just like moving. And sometimes just having this movement or breath work allows me to release some physical energy so that I could have my mental energy focused on what I'm listening to or what I'm trying to think of. All right, and the fifth exercise for cultivating more self-compassion in your life is creating and cultivating a positive inner dialogue. We all have an inner dialogue, which is like the background track of your own voice. And this one is really good, again, to do when you're in the triggered response. So you're going to start off by paying attention to your inner dialogue throughout the day. Are you being critical? Are you being judgmental? Or are you being loving and kind and compassionate? You're going to want to notice when you're being more critical and judgmental and unkind to yourself. Next, you're going to identify the tone and language that you use with yourself on a regular basis. So are you speaking to yourself kindly, loving, or are you speaking to yourself judgmentally and critically? When you catch yourself in a negative thought spiral or a negative thought pattern, don't criticize yourself even more. Instead, offer compassion for having those thoughts to begin with. You don't need to accept the negativity as the truth. Feelings are not facts. And you can ask yourself, would you ever speak to a friend or loved one that way? Probably not, right? If you wouldn't speak to someone else that way, why are you speaking to yourself that way? And this is a good opportunity to reframe the thoughts that you have and the inner dialogue that you have, to transform the critical inner self-talk that you have into more of a compassionate and understanding and loving and supportive dialogue. Instead of focusing on what you might have done wrong, offer yourself some words of encouragement or support and motivation to do better and make better choices and try again. Another option here is to use imagery in order to help really solidify this concept. You can imagine yourself as a younger version of yourself at age 1, 3, 6, 10, 12, 16, 20, 30, 40, 60, however young you want to remember yourself as, and think about what you would say to that younger version of yourself. Would you speak to that younger version of yourself the way you're speaking to yourself now? Probably not, right? And on the opposite side, you can use imagery to imagine like a wise friend, and it could be a wise older friend, it could be a wise sibling, it could be your higher self, it could be God, it could be source, universe, the earth, it could be fairies, whatever you want to imagine. Just imagine a wise and loving, like mentor type of entity, being, offering you those words of encouragement and support and motivation. So those are some of the practices that you can start including in your everyday life in order to cultivate more self-compassion in your everyday life. And the next part of this video is going to be dedicated to practical ways that can help you to begin integrating more self-compassion into your daily life. The first thing you can do is you can start your day off with an intention. What you want to complete that day, how you want your day to go. Do you want it to be playful and fun, or do you want it to be productive and patient? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to carry this intention with you throughout the day. Now, if you're like me and often forgets things a lot, then you can write your intention down on a sticky note and you can plaster them on your wall in your kitchen. You could write it on your mirror with a white erase marker. You can save it to your phone as the background screen. You can set timers on your phone with the intention as the name of the timer. Alarm. And you can use self-compassion exercises to help reinforce this. One of the biggest game changers for me was making sure that I'm taking baby steps and I'm not trying to like completely renew my whole entire routine and change everything, because honestly that just ends up setting you up for failure. So just pick one or maybe two of the self-compassion exercises and start to include them on a daily basis. And once you feel more comfortable with those and you feel like you've achieved those, you feel like you're practicing them more regularly and you've kind of achieved what they were meant to do, then you can start to incorporate more layers and more practices and different modalities to bring more self-compassion into your life. And I think it's especially important in this area to really focus on generating self-compassion when you're starting a new task. Because sometimes starting a new task, we forget, we make mistakes, we slip up. But if I make a mistake and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I made a mistake, how could I do this? I guess I'm never gonna do this, it's never gonna happen, it's never gonna work for me, I'm so bad, I'm shameful, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. Do I feel inspired to try again? No, because the next time I try again, then I'm gonna be terrified that I'm gonna be sitting in a shame spiral if I make a mistake. The point is that when you make the mistakes, you're compassionate and you're loving with yourself so that you feel safe to try again, right? And in this area, I really like to think that it's more about progress versus perfection. Making 1% of progress every day is better than 0% progress. Maybe our ideal is making 5% progress. And yes, 5% progress is better than 1% progress in the productive lens, but 1% of progress is better than 0% of progress overall. Eventually you're still taking steps towards achieving your desired outcome. And just remember to be consistent. Consistency is really key here. Again, missing one day isn't gonna make or break it. But if you miss more and more days, then yes, you're going to lose the momentum that you've built. Building self-compassion is like building a muscle. You don't just go and do a workout once and then you're jacked, right? It takes consistent effort. You don't miss an exercise once and then your whole progress is gone, right? You just keep going. And building self-compassion is the same. Once you start to do it more, once you start incorporating more of these practices, then the feelings of self-compassion will just start to come naturally to you. It'll be like a habit that is formed. We can have compassion for the times that we may fall off our daily routine or make a mistake, but we can simultaneously keep trying and keep making the effort and showing up for yourself and being the person you needed when you were younger. Be that person now. Show up for yourself regardless of the bumps in the road. Another key practical tip is to seek support and surround yourself with people who have the same intentions of building more self-compassion and shutting down that inner critic. Maybe you will seek out a therapist. Maybe you'll seek out a coach. Maybe you will seek out friends and family or other mental health professionals if needed. Another thing that can help and be supportive is like finding like-minded people online or through YouTube videos. The amount of YouTube videos that have helped me, now I'm not saying that this is a replacement for any type of mental health treatment, absolutely not. And also, this can help to fill in the gaps between the times where you are able to see those mental health professionals and give you tools so that you can help to incorporate these things on your own time. The next practical tip is to reflect on your daily progress. At the end of the day, when I'm in a good routine, I really like to reflect on if I met the needs that I intended to do that day. And you reflect on your daily progress and the parts of the day where you were successful in being self-compassionate, or you're proud of yourself for doing the task that you've been putting off for so long, or that seemed really challenging for you. The next tip I have here is to celebrate your progress. This is so important and also so much fun. Like, who doesn't want to celebrate their progress? In the moments when it's happening, and also in reflecting on the moments, celebrate your progress, celebrate your wins, big or small. You deserve it. Of course you need to celebrate. Of course you deserve to celebrate. This is huge. Doing this helps to really reinforce in your brain that these practices and efforts that you're making are actually having a positive effect on you and are actually good for your health and actually lead to more rewards. When our brain associates something as being pleasurable, like having a celebration at the end, it is more likely to do it. when our brain associates things as being painful, like maybe being shamed, blamed, or guilted, then it's not going to want to do it. Reinforcing your brain helps to encourage doing more of that, whatever that was. If you're going to reinforce your brain, now is the time to reinforce it when you are making positive changes in your life. And ultimately, the final practical tip that I have for now for this video, and really what I think is kind of like underlying all of this, is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself when you do make mistakes, for when you fall off the bandwagon. Everybody makes mistakes. Literally nobody is perfect. Anybody who thinks they are perfect are probably the least from perfect. Let go of all of the unnecessary guilt and shame, blame, and acknowledge that you are human and you are deserving of compassion, understanding, and second chances. By building self-compassion, you can build a kinder, more supportive relationship with yourself. And in doing so, creating your own best friend. So it's time to be your own best friend. The time is now. All right, everybody, that's all I have now. And there's a thunderstorm gonna happen soon, and all my light is gone. So perfect timing. I had so much fun creating this video, and it was such a good reminder for me too. And honestly, all of these videos are inspired from things that I've gone through in my life at some point or another, because there's literally no way that I'd be able to talk about something that I have no experience with. The reason that we're able to talk about things is because we've had experience with it. So I just wanted to extend this reminder from me to you. I will have the video for the meditation listed down below. I hope this video was helpful and offered something of value and like a takeaway and sparked some positive thoughts within you. If you made it this far, leave a sparkly heart in the comments so I know. I hope you are well. I hope you are feeling loved and inspired and joyful. Sending lots of love. Until next time, bye!